Hi, I'm Jacob Mills, a level designer at Ubisoft Leamington. In this video, I will walk through and explain the thought process behind one of my side missions from The Division 2, Rooftop Gardens. Upon joining the project, I was assigned a chunk of open world and tasked with ensuring that it was chock full of content. As a level designer, my responsibilities include researching this area of DC, planning the location of activities within that area, blocking out layouts for combat and traversal, and setting up mission scripts and other required logic. Upon seeing this apartment block while researching my zone of DC, I knew that I wanted to have a side mission in a building like this, and envisioned epic firefights happening between multiple disparate rooftops at exhilarating heights. Once the location was signed off, the first challenge was figuring out an optimal route for the player to take. I wanted to capitalise on the unique opportunity that this cascading set of rooftops presented, getting players up to them as soon as possible and giving them an exciting challenge once they got there. After some experimentation, I figured I could have the mission spiral up through the block, ducking into the interior of the complex to get to each of my chosen rooftops. The mission starts when the player enters the courtyard from the north. Though the other three entrances open up after the mission is complete, they are initially locked so that the player may only enter here at the best angle, where they have a commanding view of the battlefield and the progression to the next beat is visible directly opposite. An enemy sniper draws the eye upwards, hinting at the player's future path. There's plenty of space for up to 4 players to form up, spot members of the enemy faction, the hyenas, and review their options, including lanes to the left and right, and a series of advancing front lines down the middle. Depending on their playstyle, players can engage with this arena however they like. There's a large number of enemies, but the rushers will inevitably be taken out quickly. Once the hyenas in the courtyard have been defeated, the ones holed up in the complex activate the power, opening the store shutters and turning on the lights as a side effect. This draws the players to that corner, from which the mission will continue, and the store interior, now being accessible, expands the battlefield slightly for the final few enemies. From here, the players head up via a lift shaft. There's a very light encounter here to prevent players from running straight over the bridge, giving them a reason to pause, look back on the courtyard, and appreciate the sense of journey. As players enter the apartments, there's a scripted sequence of a bomb trap firing prematurely. This reinforces the hyenas as wily but disorganised, and foreshadows a more successful trap later in the mission. Following this, players climb up the lift shaft and traverse through an apartment before emerging onto the first rooftop fight. The player is alerted to the enemy position as one of them is messing around, shooting at bottles, and there are a couple of immediate cover options for players to form up and observe from before starting the combat. This is the first of a series of rooftop battles and introduces a layout format that will appear repeatedly throughout the mission. Where most encounter spaces in the game are open or linear arenas, this is 2 opposing fronts, separated by negative space, connected by only one flank on the side. In this case it's a risky approach, but for shotgun players and groups this route can be a thrilling invasion into enemy territory. Note that a portion of that enemy territory is a hollowed out interior. Utilising the building structure like this adds extra space to the arena's footprint, and also serves as a landmark to differentiate each roof and help players call out enemy positions. The enemy roof is quite tight, so it's a good place for players to experiment with controlling bottlenecks with their gadgets. This mission is very early in the game's progression, so these easy wins for the player are not discouraged. After dealing with this group of hyenas and ascending a lift shaft, the player is greeted with the second rooftop combat beat. There's a couple of goons immediately outside the door, kicking off the combat and drawing the player to the roof, where they will find enemies shooting at them from the opposite rooftop. At this point, players have a choice. They can either camp on this rooftop, or flank through the apartments to the right. The roof lets them take out the enemies from this strong overwatch point, but without a full view of the opposite apartments, and at the risk of being flanked themselves. Alternatively, pushing into the apartments gives them new angles on the roof below, and allows them to take on enemies up close, but at the risk of being overwhelmed. The fights in the apartments are close quarters and intense, but knockdown walls give players enough room to push, retreat and flank. At one point, a wall is breached right in front of the player, a trap by the hyenas sprung successfully this time. This guarantees that players experience some combat within the apartments, even if they manage to clear all the enemies by camping on the roof. This beat really shines in multiplayer, where players can split up and take both approaches simultaneously. Once the enemies in this beat are defeated, it's time to move on to the opposite apartment building and finish the mission. Snipers spawn on the distant rooftops opposite, and at this point the player is familiar with the structure. They can either stay here and fight a long-distance sniper battle, or close in through the building and take them out in close-quarter combat. Once players reach the distant rooftops, the final set of enemies spawn opposite, including an elite thrower whose grenades can push players out of cover if they don't take them out quickly. There's also a sniper on an inaccessible perch above, providing additional pressure. Each roof has an interior and an exterior section, meaning players can hang back in relative safety, or push forward for a better shot at the expense of being exposed. There is the option to flank on the right, for both players and enemies, but the route is risky, requiring a climb on each side. Again, this beat works especially well in multiplayer, as players have the option to hang all the way back on the initial rooftop, lending aid to their teammates from a safe long distance. Once the hyenas are all dead, the mission is over, and after soaking in the view, players can descend using a rappel rope straight into the courtyard, and then out into the open world using any of the 4 exits. That brings this walkthrough to an end. For more insights into my work, please visit my portfolio at jacobmills.co.uk, and don't hesitate to get in touch if there's anything you want to discuss. Thanks for watching.